Ambassador Daniel Carter looked out the window of his transport ship as the massive Galactic Council station came into view. The structure was enormous, bigger than any city on Earth. It spun slowly in space around a blue planet that reminded him of home. After 30 years as a diplomat, Carter had seen many impressive sights, but nothing like this. "Sir, we'll be docking in 20 minutes, said Colonel Lisa Martinez, his military escort. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes who never seemed to relax completely. Even now, approaching what should be a peaceful meeting, her hand stayed near her weapon. Carter nodded and adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform. Today would make history. Earth was finally joining the galactic community after years of preparation. Humanity had dreamed of this moment since they first detected alien signals from deep space. Dr. Kevin Wright floated over from his workstation, excitement clear on his face. The young scientist had studied alien biology for years, but this would be his first time meeting real aliens. "The sensor readings are incredible," he said. "There are at least 12 different atmospheric mixes on that station. We're going to meet species that evolved on completely different worlds." Amanda Foster looked up from her communication equipment. She was the team's language specialist and had spent months learning the basic trade language used by the Galactic Council. "The translation protocols are working perfectly," she reported. "We should be able to understand everything they say." The docking process took an hour. Carter watched through the viewports as their small Earth ship was guided into a bay designed for vessels much larger than theirs. Robot arms secured their craft while atmospheric processors filled the bay with breathable air. When the airlock opened, Carter got his first look at real aliens. Two tall beings waited for them, wearing what looked like ceremonial robes. Their skin was gray and scaly, and their eyes were large and dark. Behind them stood four creatures that looked like giant insects walking on two legs. "Welcome to Council Station Omega," said the lead alien in perfect English. His voice was deep and seemed to come from somewhere in his chest. "I am Diplomatic Assistant Morkan. The Council awaits your arrival." Carter stepped forward and offered his hand in the human gesture of greeting. The alien looked at it for a moment before awkwardly reaching out with his own three-fingered hand. "Thank you for this opportunity," Carter said. "Earth is honored to be considered for membership in the Galactic Council." Morkan led them through corridors filled with aliens of different shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Carter had trouble understanding how they moved or breathed. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, with curved walls that seemed to glow with their own light. They passed through several security checkpoints where guards scanned them with devices that hummed and beeped. Carter noticed that the alien guard spent more time examining his team than other visitors. Their weapons were clearly visible and designed for beings much larger than humans. The council chamber was a vast dome with seating arranged in a circle. 12 different sections held the representatives of the major galactic species. In the center was a raised platform where Carter would make his presentation. Chancellor Vexithera dominated the chamber from his position at the highest point. He was a massive reptilian being, easily 8 feet tall, with golden scales and cold, yellow eyes. When he spoke, his voice filled the entire dome. "The human delegation may approach," Vexithera announced. His tone suggested this was more of an inconvenience than an honor. Carter walked to the center platform with confidence, though he could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching his every move. He had prepared for this moment for months, practicing his speech and studying everything Earth knew about galactic politics. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Carter began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's sound system. "I come before you representing Earth and all humanity. We seek to join your ancient alliance and contribute to the peace and prosperity you have maintained for thousands of years." Some aliens listened with what might have been interest, but Carter noticed others whispering among themselves. Their translation devices seemed to be working inconsistently, with several representatives tapping their equipment and frowning. Carter continued his presentation, describing Earth's achievements in science, art, and exploration. He spoke of humanity's desire to learn from older, wiser species and their willingness to follow council laws and traditions. The speech had been carefully crafted to show respect while demonstrating that humans were not primitive savages. Counselor Ziktar of the insect-like hegemony suddenly stood up, his forearms gesturing angrily. "This is meaningless ceremony," he clicked in the trade language. "These humans have already shown their true nature through their aggressive expansion into space." Carter felt his stomach drop. This was not going according to plan. "Honored Counselor, if you're referring to our recent colonization efforts, those settlements were established in unclaimed systems following all known space laws." "Unknown to you, perhaps," hissed another alien from across the chamber. "But not unknown to those who have navigated these stars since before your species learned to make fire." The chamber erupted in alien voices as different species began arguing among themselves. Carter could only catch fragments through the translation system, but the tone was clearly hostile. Words like dangerous, primitive, and threat came through clearly. Chancellor Vexithera raised one massive hand and the chamber fell silent. "The human delegation will remain silent while the council deliberates," he commanded. For the next 2 hours, Carter and his team stood in the center of the chamber while aliens debated their fate in languages they couldn't understand. The translation devices had been deliberately shut off, leaving the humans isolated and nervous. Colonel Martinez moved closer to Carter. "Sir, I don't like this," she whispered. "My tactical assessment suggests we're not welcome here." Dr. Wright had gone pale as he watched the alien gestures and expressions. "Their body language is universally hostile," he murmured. "Even species that evolved on different worlds are showing the same aggressive postures." Amanda Foster was frantically working with her equipment, trying to restore the translation feed. "They've locked us out of the communication network," she reported quietly. "We can't even call our ship." Finally, Vexthera called for order. The massive alien stood to his full height and looked down at Carter with obvious contempt. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding Earth's application for membership." Carter straightened his shoulders and prepared to hear their judgment. After 30 years of diplomatic service, he had learned to read situations and nothing about. This felt right. But he was here representing all of humanity, and he would face whatever came with dignity. Furthermore, Vexithera continued, his voice taking on an ominous tone. "This council finds that certain actions by the human species constitute violations of sacred galactic law." Carter's blood ran cold. This was no longer about membership. Something had gone terribly wrong. The silence in the council chamber was complete. Daniel Carter stood perfectly still as Chancellor Vexithera's words echoed through the vast dome. Around him, hundreds of alien beings watched with what he could only describe as hungry anticipation. "Charges against the human known as Daniel Carter are as follows," Vexithera announced, reading from a glowing tablet that had not existed moments before. "Violation of sacred space boundaries, aggressive expansion into protected zones, and contempt for established galactic order." Carter felt his heart racing but kept his voice steady. "Chancellor, I must protest. Earth has committed no crimes. Our expansion followed all known space laws, and I am here under diplomatic immunity as an official representative of my government." A sound like laughter rippled through several sections of alien seating. Counselor Ziktar clicked his mandibles in what was clearly amusement. "Diplomatic immunity exists only between civilized species," he said. "Primitives cannot claim such protections." Colonel Martinez took a half-step forward, her hand moving instinctively toward her sidearm. Carter caught her eye and shook his head slightly. Starting a fight here would only make things worse for Earth. Dr. Wright was scanning the chamber with growing alarm. "Sir," he whispered urgently, "their bio readings are spiking. Whatever they're planning, they're excited about it." Amanda Foster had managed to partially restore her communication equipment. "I'm getting fragments of the local network," she reported in a low voice. "They're broadcasting this session across council space. This isn't just a trial. It's a show." Chancellor Vexithera stood to his full imposing height. "The evidence against the accused is overwhelming. 3 star systems claimed by humans belong to the Eternal Preserve, sacred to the memory of the first builders. This violation cannot be overlooked or forgiven." "We had no knowledge of any Eternal Preserve," Carter protested. Our surveys showed those systems were unclaimed. If we had known, we would never have settled there. Ignorance is not a defense, hissed a serpentine alien from the far side of the chamber. The preserve has been marked in our star charts for over 8,000 years. Carter realized with growing horror that this was a setup. The aliens had deliberately withheld information about their sacred sites, waiting for humans to accidentally violate them. Earth's colonization efforts had walked straight into a trap. The Galactic Council finds the accused guilty of all charges, Vexthera declared. The words hit Carter like physical blows. The sentence is death, to be carried out. Immediately, as an example to all species who would challenge the established order, the chamber erupted in alien sounds that might have been cheering. Colonel Martinez grabbed Carter's arm. "Sir, we need to leave now. My ship can punch through their docking bay doors if we move fast." "No," Carter said firmly. "If we fight our way out, they'll use it as justification to attack Earth. I won't give them that excuse." 4 massive alien guards were already approaching the platform. They wore armor that looked like it could stop tank rounds and carried weapons that hummed with dangerous energy. Their movements were practiced and efficient. Dr. Wright was backing, away from the approaching guards. "This is insane. They can't just execute a diplomatic representative. It violates every principle of interstellar law." "Whose law?" Ziktar clicked with obvious pleasure. "Human law? Your species has been in space for less than a century. We have maintained order for 10,000 years. The guards reached the platform and grabbed Carter with metal hands that could easily crush human bones. He didn't resist, knowing that maintaining his dignity was the only weapon he had left. "Colonel Martinez," he said clearly, his voice carrying across the chamber, "when you return to Earth, tell them exactly what happened here. Tell them that humanity came in peace and was answered with murder. Amanda Foster was desperately working, her recording equipment, trying to capture everything despite the jamming fields. Her hand shook as she realized she was documenting the execution of a man she had worked with for years." The guards dragged Carter to a device in the center of the chamber that he hadn't noticed before. It looked like a metal chair with cables and needles attached to various points. The purpose was clearly sinister. "The neural disruptor," Vexthera explained with satisfaction, "breaks down the victim's consciousness slowly while keeping the body alive. It typically takes 4 to 6 hours for complete mental dissolution. The process is quite educational for observers." Carter was strapped into the device despite his diplomatic protests. The metal was cold against his skin, and he could smell ozone from the electrical systems. Around the chamber, aliens leaned forward to get a better view. "This is how the Galactic Council deals with species that refuse to know their place," the Chancellor announced. "Let this human's death serve as a lesson to any who would challenge our authority." The first pulse of the neural disruptor felt like lightning in Carter's brain. He clenched his teeth, determined not to give the aliens the satisfaction of seeing him scream. But as the device ramped up its power, maintaining silence became impossible. Colonel Martinez had tears streaming down her face as she watched her ambassador suffer. Her military training demanded action, but Carter's final orders held her in place. Starting a war here would accomplish nothing. For 3 hours, Carter endured agony beyond description. The neural disruptor attacked his mind while keeping his body functional, creating a torture specifically designed to be as painful as possible for as long as possible. But even as his consciousness began to fracture, Carter found the strength to speak. His voice was weak but clear enough for Amanda's recording devices to capture every word. "Earth will remember this," he gasped between pulses of pain. "We came to you in peace, offering friendship and cooperation. You answered with murder and torture. Humanity will never forget what you've done here today." His final words were spoken directly to the recording device, knowing that Earth would see this eventually. "Tell my wife I love her. Tell my children that their father died trying to make the galaxy a better place. And tell every human being that we learned an important lesson here today about the true nature of alien civilization." Daniel Carter, Earth's first ambassador to the galactic community, died screaming in a torture device while hundreds of aliens watched with approval. His death was broadcast across Council space as a warning to any species that might consider challenging the established order. When it was over, Vexithara looked down at the human delegation with cold satisfaction. "You will return to your world. Immediately," he commanded. "Tell your leaders that any further expansion into Council space will result in the complete extermination of your species." The surviving humans were escorted back to their ship under heavy guard. Amanda Foster clutched her recording device like a sacred relic, knowing it contained the evidence that would change everything for humanity. As their ship pulled away from the station, Colonel Martinez stared back at the massive structure with hatred burning in her eyes. Earth had sent them as diplomats, but they were returning as witnesses to murder. The war had already begun. The aliens just didn't know it yet. The emergency session of the United Earth Council was unlike anything in human history. Representatives from every nation sat in stunned silence as Amanda Foster's recording played on the massive screens. They watched their ambassador die in agony while alien beings cheered and celebrated. President Helen Walker stood at the podium, her face pale but her voice steady. She had been in politics for 20 years and had seen humanity at its best and worst, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, 3 days ago, we sent Daniel Carter to the Galactic Council as our representative. He went in peace, carrying humanity's hopes for a better future among the stars. What you have just witnessed is how the so-called civilized galaxy responded to our offer of friendship." The recording ended with Carter's final words echoing through the chamber. Several representatives were openly weeping. Others sat with expressions of rage that promised terrible consequences. General Nathan Cross, Supreme Commander of Earth's United Defense Forces, stood up from his seat in the military section. He was a big man with gray hair and scars from the Mars colonial wars. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who had spent his life preparing for humanity's darkest hours. "Madam President," he said formally, "I request immediate authorization to mobilize all military assets for a state of total war. The Alien Galactic Council has committed an act of murder against a diplomatic representative of Earth. This cannot stand." The vote was unanimous. Every nation on Earth, every colony in the solar system, every human settlement from Mercury to Pluto agreed on one thing. The aliens would pay for what they had done. Admiral Karen Steele took command of the SOL Defense Fleet, the most advanced military force humanity had ever assembled. Her ships were equipped with technology that Earth had developed in secret, preparing for the day they might encounter hostile aliens. "Our advantages are significant," she briefed the combined military leadership. "The quantum tunnel drives give us mobility the aliens can't match. Our AI-assisted targeting systems are generations ahead of their mechanical computers. Most importantly, they've never fought an enemy like us." Dr. Ryan Parker led the Emergency Weapons Development Program. His teams worked around the clock to adapt civilian technology into instruments of war. Asteroid mining equipment became planet killers. Terraforming systems became biological weapon delivery platforms. The first human response came exactly 1 week after Carter's murder. Admiral Steele's task force emerged from quantum tunnels directly inside the Zephyrian home system, bypassing their defensive perimeters completely. The UES Retribution, Earth's newest battleship, appeared without warning above the main Zephyrian military shipyard. Captain Frank Rodriguez opened fire immediately, his quantum torpedoes tearing through alien ships like paper. The Zephyrians had never seen weapons that could phase through their energy shields. "Target destroyed," reported his weapons officer. Moving to secondary objectives. Within 3 hours, Steele's task force had eliminated 6 major military installations and captured a Zephyrian command vessel intact. The aliens they found aboard were paralyzed with shock. Their species had not experienced warfare for over 1,000 years. The captured aliens provided invaluable intelligence about Council military capabilities. Dr. Wright, who had returned to Earth with the delegation, interrogated them personally. "They're soft," he reported to the military command. 10,000 years of peace has made them forget how to fight. Their weapons are designed for ritual combat, not real war. Their ships prioritize comfort over survival systems. The second, Wave of attacks came simultaneously across 12 star systems. Human strike teams had studied the aliens' predictable patrol patterns and supply routes. Every attack hit targets that were completely unprepared for real combat. Captain Jake Morrison commanded a new class of stealth destroyer, the UES Vengeance. His ship could remain invisible to alien sensors for months at a time, appearing only to deliver devastating surprise attacks. "We're like sharks among goldfish," he reported after destroying a hegemony supply convoy. "They have no concept of asymmetric warfare. Every engagement follows ancient protocols that we can predict and counter." The psychological impact was immediate and severe. Alien species that had never known fear suddenly found themselves jumping at shadows. Human ships seemed to appear from nowhere, strike without warning, and vanish before reinforcements could arrive. Dr. Sandra Mitchell developed the first targeted bioweapons specifically designed for alien physiology. Her team had analyzed samples from the captured Zephyrians and created viruses that were harmless to humans, but lethal to crystalline-based lifeforms. The Carter Protocol, as it became known, was deployed on 3 Zephyrian colonies. Within days, 90% of the population was dead. The survivors sent desperate messages across council space, describing humans as death incarnate and the species that knows no mercy. President Walker addressed the Earth population 6 months after the war began. Behind her stood a monument to Daniel Carter, carved from black stone and inscribed with his final words. "The alien Galactic Council believed they could murder our representative and intimidate us into submission," she said. "They thought humanity would accept their judgment and crawl back to our home system in fear. They were wrong." The broadcast reached human colonies across known space. Every settlement, every ship, every outpost received the same message. Earth was at war, and every human had a role to play. Commander Alex Rodriguez led the first boarding operations against Council vessels. His Marines had trained for zero gravity, combat against alien opponents, and their effectiveness was terrifying to witness. "Human soldiers fight like nothing we've ever encountered," reported a captured Council officer. "They show no fear of death, no respect for surrender, no mercy for the wounded. They are like demons made flesh." The videos of these boarding actions were deliberately broadcast across Council space. Humans wanted their enemies to know exactly what was coming for them. The psychological warfare was as effective as the physical destruction. Within a year, 3 Council species had attempted to negotiate separate peace treaties with Earth. President Walker's response was always the same message, delivered personally in recorded broadcasts. "You participated in the torture and murder of Ambassador Daniel Carter. You cheered while he died in agony. There will be no negotiations, no peace treaties, no mercy. This ends when your civilization ends. Earth's industrial capacity transformed overnight. Every factory, every shipyard, every research facility focused on a single goal: building the tools needed to exterminate alien civilization. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars. The war machine grew stronger every day. Self-replicating mining drones stripped entire asteroid belts to feed the hungry factories. AI-controlled warships hunted Council vessels with mechanical precision. Human ingenuity unleashed horrors that alien minds could barely comprehend. By the end of the first year, the Galactic Council was in full retreat. 7 of their member species had been completely destroyed. The remaining 5 huddled in heavily fortified core systems, praying that the humans would eventually show the mercy they themselves had denied. But humanity had learned an important lesson from Daniel Carter's death. In a universe where civilization meant torture and murder, there was only one appropriate response: total war, without limit, without mercy, without end. The aliens had wanted to teach humanity its place in the galactic order. Instead, they had created their own extinction. 2 years had passed since Daniel Carter's execution, and the war had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen before. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching alien supply ships burn in the vacuum of space. His stealth destroyer had been hunting in Council territory for 6 months without being detected once. "Target destroyed, Captain," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. "That's the 5th hegemony convoy this week." Morrison nodded grimly. The aliens still hadn't figured out how human cloaking technology worked. Their sensors were designed to detect the energy signatures of their own ships, not the quantum phase, generators that made human vessels invisible to conventional detection. "Set course for the Kepler sector," he ordered. "Intelligence reports another supply route through there. We'll hit them at the asteroid belt where they think they're safe." The Vengeance slipped back into stealth mode and disappeared from all known forms of detection. Morrison's ship could operate behind enemy lines for months at a time, striking without warning and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. On Earth, Dr. Sandra Mitchell was perfecting her latest creation in a laboratory buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The Carter Protocol had been terrifyingly effective against crystalline-based life forms, but she wanted something that would work on all alien species. "The new strain is ready for field testing," she reported to General Cross during their weekly briefing. "It targets the neural pathways that all Council species share. We call it the extinction virus." The General studied the biological data with the cold calculation of a man who had seen too much death. "Deployment method." "Atmospheric processors," Mitchell replied. "One canister can contaminate the air supply of an entire planet within hours. The virus is engineered to break down after 72 hours, leaving the world safe for human colonization." The first test came on the hegemony, homeworld. Human infiltrators had spent months learning the layout of the planet's atmospheric systems. When the extinction virus was released, it spread through the alien population like wildfire. Commander Alex Rodriguez led the follow-up ground assault 3 days later. His Marines found a world of corpses, with billions of insectoid aliens dead, in their cities. The few survivors had lost their minds to the neural damage, wandering aimlessly through empty streets. "Clean sweep," Rodriguez reported back to Earth. "No resistance encountered. The homeworld of the species that helped murder Ambassador Carter is now under human control." The psychological impact on the remaining Council species was immediate and devastating. The hegemony had been one of the most powerful civilizations in known space, and humanity had wiped them out in less than a week. Desperate Council leaders attempted to open negotiations through neutral species. They sent envoys carrying white flags and peace offerings begging for mercy they had never shown. President Walker received each delegation personally in the rebuilt Oval Office. Behind her desk hung a portrait of Daniel Carter with his final words inscribed below. "Earth will remember this. Your Excellency," pleaded Ambassador Kethvar of the surviving Zephyrian remnant, "our species seeks peace. We were not responsible for the human ambassador's death. That decision was made by our leaders who are now dead." Walker looked at the crystalline alien with the cold expression that had become known across Council space as the Carter stare. "Were your people cheering in the Council chamber while our ambassador was tortured to death?" "Yes, but—" "Then your people are responsible," Walker interrupted. "This war ends when your species ends. There will be no exceptions." The alien envoy left Earth knowing that no mercy would be found among the humans. Word spread quickly through the remaining Council territories. Humanity would accept nothing less than total extermination. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Morrison, daughter of Captain Jake Morrison, took command of the newest human warship, the UES Carter's Revenge. At 25, she was the youngest ship captain in human history, but she had grown up learning to hate aliens with religious intensity. "Today we begin Operation Final Solution," she announced to her crew as they prepared to leave Earth orbit. "Our mission is to hunt down every surviving Council vessel in known space. No prisoners, no mercy, no exceptions." The Carter's Revenge was equipped with the latest human technology. Her quantum drives could cross the galaxy in days. Her AI-controlled weapons could track and destroy hundreds of targets simultaneously. Her armor could withstand anything the aliens might throw at her. Lisa Morrison's ship became a legend of terror among the surviving aliens. They called her the Daughter of Death, and told stories of her appearing from quantum space to destroy refugee fleets trying to escape human territory. Dr. Ryan Parker had transformed Earth's industrial capacity into the most efficient killing machine in galactic history. His factories produced new weapons faster than the military could deploy them. His research teams constantly developed new ways to kill aliens more efficiently. The latest innovation is nanoscale hunter-killers. He briefed the military leadership. They can survive in space for centuries, seeking out and destroying any non-human life they encounter. Once deployed in a star system, they make it permanently uninhabitable for alien species. General Cross approved immediate production of 1 billion nanohunter units. Human ships began seeding them throughout former Council space, creating death zones that would claim alien lives for generations to come. The few remaining Council species tried desperately to flee to distant galaxies. Long-range observation posts detected their massive evacuation fleets heading for the galactic rim, carrying the survivors of civilizations that had existed for millennia. Admiral Steele personally led the pursuit fleet. Her ships emerged from quantum tunnels directly in the path of the fleeing aliens, cutting off their escape routes with precision that spoke of months of careful planning. "This is Admiral Karen Steele of the United Earth Forces," she broadcast to the alien fleet. "You are attempting to flee justice for the murder of Ambassador Daniel Carter. Turn around and face your fate, or we will hunt you across the universe." The aliens chose to run. The resulting chase lasted 3 months and covered half the galaxy. Human ships pursued the refugees relentlessly, destroying any vessel that fell behind and capturing others for interrogation. When the last alien ship was finally cornered at the edge of known space, Steele offered them a choice that was no choice at all: immediate death in battle, or slow death from the extinction virus. The aliens chose battle. Their ancient warships were no match for human technology. The engagement lasted less than an hour, ending with the complete destruction of the last organized alien military force. Back on Earth, President Walker stood before a joint session of Congress to deliver her annual war report. The chamber was filled with military officers whose uniforms displayed ribbons for campaigns across dozens of star systems. 4 years ago, the aliens believed they could teach humanity its place in their galactic order, she said. They tortured and murdered our ambassador while their civilizations cheered. Today, those civilizations are extinct, and human colonies occupy their former worlds. The applause was thunderous. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars, the complete and total elimination of alien life. Every human child was raised. Knowing the story of Daniel Carter and the price of alien treachery, Commander Rodriguez stood in the ruins of the former Galactic Council station, now occupied by human forces. The chamber where Carter had died was preserved exactly as it had been, turned into a monument to alien cruelty and human determination. "Let this place remind us why we fight," he told the young soldiers under his command. The aliens showed us what they think of human diplomacy. We showed them what we think of alien civilization. The war was far from over, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had proven itself the superior species through the only measurement that mattered. In a hostile universe, the ability to survive by ensuring that threats to survival did not. 20 years had passed since Ambassador Daniel Carter died screaming in the council chamber. Admiral Karen Steele, now 73 years old, stood on the bridge of her flagship watching the final bombardment of the last known alien settlement. Her hair was completely gray, but her eyes still burned with the same hatred that had driven humanity across the galaxy. "Final target eliminated, Admiral," reported Captain Ben Walsh, her latest operations officer. "Long-range sensors show no remaining life signs on the planet's surface." Steele nodded with satisfaction. The planet below had once been home to 3 million survivors of various council species. Now, it was a radioactive wasteland that would remain uninhabitable for centuries. "Mark this system as cleared and move to the next sector." The Galactic Council had been extinct for 15 years, but humanity's war machine continued its methodical extermination of any alien life it could find. Earth's government had made it clear that this was not conquest or colonization. This was species-level genocide carried out with industrial efficiency. General Nathan Cross, now Supreme Military Commander of all human forces, reviewed the latest reports from his office in the Pentagon. At 81, he was too old for field command, but his strategic mind still guided humanity's never-ending campaign. "Status report," he demanded from his aide, Colonel Jennifer Wells. "Sector 7 is now completely cleared," she reported. The last Zephyrian refugees were eliminated 3 days ago. Sector 12 shows possible alien activity near the neutron star cluster, but it's probably just automated distress beacons. Cross studied the galactic map on his wall. Red zones marked areas that had been completely sterilized of alien life. Green zones showed regions under human control. The yellow zones were shrinking every day as human hunter-killer fleets expanded their search patterns. Dr. Sandra Mitchell, now director of xenocide research, had perfected killing into an art form. Her latest creation was a self-replicating virus that could spread through vacuum, seeking out alien genetic material across interstellar distances. The death cloud is ready for deployment, she briefed the military leadership. Once released, it will spread throughout this galaxy and beyond, eliminating any alien life it encounters. The process should be complete within 50 years. President Helen Walker, serving her 5th consecutive term, approved the deployment immediately. At 68, she had dedicated her entire political career to ensuring that Daniel Carter's death was avenged completely. Deploy the death cloud in the outer rim territories, she ordered. Let it spread naturally toward the galactic core. Any aliens hiding in distant systems will face the same fate as those who cheered our ambassador's murder. Human colonies had spread across thousands of former alien worlds, but these were not normal settlements. Every human city was built around a military academy where children learned to hate aliens with religious fervor. Every school taught the story of Daniel Carter and the lesson of alien treachery. Commander Lisa Morrison, now 45 and a legendary figure among human forces, commanded the Deep Space Patrol Fleet. Her ships hunted through empty regions of space, following radiation trails and quantum signatures that might indicate alien survivors. Her daughter, Lieutenant Sarah Morrison, served as her tactical officer aboard the UES Eternal Vengeance. 3 generations of Morrisons had now dedicated their lives to hunting aliens across the galaxy. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, Sarah reported during their patrol of the Andromeda approach routes. Energy signature matches hegemony refugee craft. Lisa smiled coldly. The hegemony had been extinct for 18 years, but scattered survivors still tried to flee human space. Intercept course. No survivors. The alien vessel was a converted cargo hauler carrying perhaps 50 refugees. When human ships surrounded it, the aliens broadcast desperate pleas for mercy in a dozen different languages. This is Commander Morrison of the United Earth Forces, Lisa announced over the communication channel. You are members of species that participated in the torture and murder of Ambassador Daniel Carter. Prepare to face justice. The alien ship tried to run, but human vessels were faster, better armed, and crewed by people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. The engagement was over in minutes, leaving only debris and the satisfaction of another small victory for humanity. On Earth, monuments to Daniel Carter stood in every major city. The largest was in Geneva, built on the site of the old United Nations building. Carved from black stone and standing 500 feet tall, it bore Carter's final words in every human language. Earth will remember this. Children made pilgrimages to these monuments as part of their education. They learned the names of every council species and the methods used to exterminate them. They memorized the technical specifications of human weapons and the tactics used to hunt alien survivors. Dr. Ryan Parker, now retired but still consulting on weapons development, had created technologies that turned space itself into a weapon against alien life. His quantum mines could detect alien genetic material and detonate across light years of distance. The universe itself has become hostile to non-human life, he explained to a gathering of young engineers. Every star system humanity has touched is now permanently dangerous to aliens. They cannot hide, cannot run, cannot survive anywhere in our galaxy. The few remaining aliens had been reduced to primitive savagery, hiding in asteroid belts and dead systems, constantly moving to avoid human detection. They told stories of the time before humanity, when the galaxy was filled with civilizations and the Council maintained peace among the stars. But those stories seemed like myths now. Children born in the last 20 years had never known a universe where aliens existed as anything more than targets to be eliminated. Humanity had become the only intelligent species in known space. Ambassador Keltar, one of the last surviving Zephyrians, huddled in an abandoned mining station with 47 other refugees from various species. They had been running for 15 years, always staying ahead of human hunter-killer fleets. Why? He asked the darkness around him. Why did they have to kill Carter? Why couldn't we just accept them as equals? But there was no answer because all the aliens who had made that decision were dead. Only the innocent survivors remained, paying the price for their leaders' cruelty with interest that compounded every day. Human deep space monitoring stations tracked movement patterns across the entire galaxy. Advanced AI systems analyzed every energy signature, every quantum fluctuation, every possible sign of alien activity. When something was detected, hunter-killer fleets responded within hours. President Walker stood once again before Carter's monument in Geneva, delivering her annual address to the human species. Behind her, the names of 17 extinct alien civilizations were carved into the black stone. 20 years ago, the aliens believed they could teach us humility through murder and torture, she said to the billions of humans watching across known space. They wanted us to accept our place as primitives in their ancient order. Instead, we taught them that when you murder a human diplomat, you sign your species' death warrant. The crowd's response was thunderous. 20 years of constant warfare had forged humanity into something the galaxy had never seen. A species united by hatred, driven by vengeance, and equipped with the tools to make their enemies extinct. This war will continue until the last alien draws their final breath, Walker continued. We will hunt them across galaxies if necessary. We will pursue them to the edge of the universe. Daniel Carter's death will be avenged completely, no matter how long it takes. Human fleets launched from Earth that day, carrying their message of eternal vengeance toward distant galaxies where alien refugees might be hiding. The death cloud spread through space behind them, ensuring that no alien species would ever again threaten humanity's vision of galactic order. The war that began with one man's execution would continue until every star in the universe shone down on human worlds alone. Humanity had learned the most important lesson the galaxy could teach. In a universe where mercy is weakness, only the ruthless survive. And humans had proven themselves the most ruthless species that had ever existed.